Review.
In the small Pacific Northwestern town of Greenvale, anything can happen. You sit at a long table with an old hotel proprietor that thinks you're hitting on her. There's a guy in a wheelchair who wears a gas mask and whose caretaker speaks in rhyming couplets.
Haste won't lead you to what you seek. Keep your eyes focused on your footing as we speak.
And then there's Francis York Morgan, an FBI agent who talks to invisible friend Zach about 80s movies as he drives down the highway. Oh, call him York. Everyone calls him that.
Please call me York. It's what everyone calls me.
Welcome to Deadly Premonition, the director's cut. In 2010, Xbox 360 owners had their initial chance to get lost in this surreal adventure. Now, PlayStation 3 owners get the pleasure.
This show has just begun.
Though there's nothing dramatically improved in this upscaled port. You get a higher resolution and some additional cutscenes by way of a new framing device. Sadly, the upscaled visuals bring with them a stuttering frame rate that can make certain stretches a little uncomfortable. And anyway, the higher resolution doesn't make the game look much better than it did before. It's still pretty homely. The controls are the most obvious improvement, since now you can move around like you do in most third-person games, rather than feeling like a tank. But be warned, if you look at Deadly Premonition as a simple piece of software, it's pretty dumpy. Sound effects are primitive and sometimes break. The main map is just awful. Vehicles are clumsy to drive. On the surface, this game doesn't seem to have much going for it. Dig deeper though, and you find an amazing narrative and a town full of delights. As York, you're in Greenvale to solve the murder of a young beauty. As you conduct your investigation, the citizens go about their lives, and their behavior isn't nearly as artificial as you would see in other games. When it's time for lunch, a suspect might leave her home and drive to the local diner. You might even be able to join her for a meal. The sheriff gets in his car, does his rounds, and drives back to the police station. These people have lives, homes, and jobs. And because they move through the world with their own purposes, you don't feel like this town was created just for you. You truly are an interloper, disrupting lives on your search for the truth. Your investigation leads to more than just ridiculous conversations, but to confrontations with ghostly spirits. You can bash on them or shoot them, and thankfully these enemies are no longer the bullet sponges they were in the first release. Not that the shooting is all that compelling, though it's functional. What makes interacting with Deadly Premonition such a pleasure is that it's constantly changing up the gameplay and changing up the vibe in the process. The dual picture chases that have you escaping a killer's clutches are terrifying. Other sequences like anatomy quizzes and town meetings are hysterical. The fantastic soundtrack layers on whistling themes and folksy guitar tunes, bringing weird, jaunty attitude to dark, creepy events. And the contrast works.
I think this case may take a while.
Deadly Premonition, the director's cut, isn't a dramatic overhaul, but the game is still utterly engrossing. It's a mess by any objective standard. It looks decrepit, the terrible map and awkward driving makes getting around a chore, and the low frame rate is hardly a welcome addition. But Deadly Premonition is absolutely divine all the same.
Two.